Welcome to Narratives and Nightcaps, Books, Beverages, and Author Conversations. Today I'm joined by author Skyla Arndt to chat about her upcoming novel, House of Hearts. Welcome, Skyla.
Thanks for having me. I'm super excited.
I am so excited. Like we were just talking about, I'm desperate for fall in the midst of this very, very hot weather that I find myself in on the regular, and your book has all the fall vibes that I was craving.
It's Summerween. I think that's what it's called.
Yes.
It's Summerween.
Yes. Okay, we are going to get all into everything about House of Hearts, but before we do that, you have the most wonderful nightcap for us today.
I do. I got this cup uh, as a gift to myself for being able to finish the book. I was like, I need something. And so I got this like Alice in Wonderland themed cup. And it has English breakfast tea that is clearly watered down because I need a ton of milk and everything I drink. But yeah, no, I got this and I was so excited when it came. And anytime I want to feel like I'm having a little tea party with myself, I whip it out.
I love it. I'm so obsessed with it. Does it say we're all mad here
It
too?
does.
Right there.
It does. And I think it says something on the bottom, but I'm trying not to like spill it all over myself. But like if you can see on the inside, it has all like this like print of like
Yes.
Alice and then like a little like potion bottle. This is drink me and hearts. And yeah, I am obsessed with it. That is the fine china in this house
I
that I
think
whip
I
out.
need the bottom of it to say in the cup to say down the rabbit hole.
Oh,
Like,
okay, it doesn't I don't think it says that. It says curious. Oh, and I spilled it. It says curious, curiouser.
okay, acceptable, acceptable. That is so cute and so perfect for this
So on
book.
brand.
Absolutely. We're nothing if not on brand. With that said, can you give listeners a quick overview of House of Hearts and what readers can expect from this
I should
story?
definitely be holding it, but I'm not. So we're just gonna pretend.
Wait,
Wait, do you have it? Ah, okay. Pretend I'm holding that.
I'll hold it for you while you talk
Thank
about it.
you.
It's
House of
beautiful.
Hearts is like a young adult horror romance, which is like my favorite genre mashup, about a scholarship student that enrolls in this private academy to follow in the footsteps of her dead best friend. And part of her investigation means infiltrating the secret society called the Cards that her friend was a part of when she mysteriously passed away. And basically, all of these clues that she's searching for in her investigation just like tumbles her down the rabbit hole, pun intended, where she's suddenly going up against vengeful ghosts, family curses, and even a forbidden romance that might literally rip out her own heart. So it's Alice in Wonderland and Dark Academia and all the things I love just smashed together.
It is so much fun. It is the perfect amount of haunting with creepy, with the forbidden love. Oh, the second it arrived, my husband, he was like, "Oh, you got a book." And normally he makes fun of me for the books that arrive at the house. And he's like, "Come on, Brie." And I'm like, "No, no, no. Like, it's good. Like, books are great. This is a great hobby. I have a podcast about it. You know this." He gets this and he looked at it and he was like, "You're going to really like this one."
The cover, I like, so it's by Marcella Bolivar, who I have to plug all the time because I owe her like my soul at this point because she did Together We Rot's cover too. She just like nailed that. Like, I said I want it to be spooky, but I want it to be romantic and I want it to kind of have Alice in Wonderland vibes. And she's like, okay, bet. And she pulled that out. Like, and I remember staring at it for just like weeks. I'm like, how did you make this? How did this come out of
Well
your
done.
brain?
Well done. It's beautiful, and I've even seen, like, other people commenting on the cover that haven't had a chance to read it yet, or they did do an arc. No, everyone's talking about it.
And on the inside, they also shot me like the hearts for the page numbers and
Yes.
the card dividers. I'm like, oh my God. And I like fangirled so hard when I saw that. Because I'm like a sucker for like all the little tiny details. And that took me out. I was so excited. Because it was just like all these cute little things they added that just kind of just like, it just takes the book to just this fun level.
For sure, for sure. So, What was the initial spark or image or inspiration for this story?
So I was super burnt out and I had second book syndrome like through the roof. And it was so hard because I was like trying to write all these books, trying because when you have a debut, you go from writing for yourself to suddenly writing with an audience. And it's a lot of self inflicted pressure, but I was like, I have to have the perfect follow up to Together We Fraud. The market has to like it, people have to like it. And I felt so much pressure from that I was writing like just 20,000 of one book, scrapping it, 20,000 of another, scrapping it. And House of Hearts was this fun little secret passion project that I didn't tell anyone about. I was like, maybe no one will read it. Maybe it will just live on my computer forever. But I had a lot of fun and I was writing it like I stayed up until midnight on New Year's Eve just writing it. And granted, that draft made no sense, but the heart of it was the same. And that's kind of how it started as just this like fun escape for me of just everything I loved. I was like trying to find the passion and love for writing again after being severely burnt out. And that's what this book did for me. It kind of pulled me out of burnout. So it was very special for me, at least.
Yeah, but I mean, such a powerful story now. I know in the midst of all of that, like, I can't imagine the pressure that you were feeling. Um, and and a lot of that probably, I mean, it is self-inflicted, but I feel like it's so natural and people don't really talk about that and how hard that would be. So I love that like what House of Hearts is sounds like it's just very much you. Like
Yes, it was an
it's your
escape
passion.
book.
It's yeah, oh, I love that. I know you had to go through like climb so many mountains to get to this, but hopefully you deserved that treat afterwards. You deserve that
I
cup
deserved that
100%.
cup.
I have a hard-hitting question for you now. I need to know your real take on M dashes.
I love M dashes. Okay,
Thank
so
okay.
in the book, one of the characters makes fun of M dashes, and that was kind of like a jab at myself because I'm like M dashing like crazy.
Oh,
So I
okay.
love them and I overuse them probably a lot.
You are me,
But
I am you. I I feel so much I was like, I have to ask her, and it's fine if we agree to disagree on
no, I
this,
love M dashes.
but
That
oh,
was a dig at myself because I was using M dashes as I had him say it.
yes. Okay, I feel so much better. That was like I was like, "I have to get this off my chest. I need
The
to
hard
know
hitting
where she really
questions.
stands." Literally, because that's early in the book that we get to know this character and how he really feels about M dashes. And in my note on my phone, because I like to take little notes as I'm writing, I was like,
Ask
"Need
about the
to
M
know
dashes.
where she really stands on M dashes." Okay. Tell me, well, you kind of did, but like what when you look at your writing process for this and your entire process for this, how would you compare it to your debut?
And I think like so a lot of people have that second book syndrome. Like that's the reason there's a name for it because like I feel like everyone goes through it. Together We Rot, I was writing I mean, I had the expectation that I would like somebody to read it one day, but it was really just for me. Because it was my first draft of like, I was writing it for myself. I didn't have an agent. It wasn't under contract. It was just for me. And there's a difference with when you go to your next book, suddenly there's an expectation of, like a ticking time clock that of course I put over my own head of, well, I need the second book out by this date. Or, people have read this book and now what are they expecting from me? And it was a different process because you're going from writing for yourself to kind of writing for an audience and trying to figure out how to still have the passion for writing when it's suddenly kind of commercialized to an extent. Like it's still enjoyable and still a passion, but there's a barcode at the back. Like, and it's just this different experience. So it was harder for House of Hearts because a lot of authors were like, can we write another book? Was this just like our one trick like with the debut? Um in figuring out how to go from that polished end of your last book because you've worked on it so long to a fresh messy first draft and that mental block of like, oh, this is a mess, like am I going to show this to anyone? Um, and yeah, that's why it was so nice to just write House of Hearts in secret because I'm like, it is a mess, but I'm having fun. And I was able to clean it up and show it to my agent, and it went from there. But it was a totally different process because I had so much more self-inflicted expectations on myself that I just didn't have with Together We Rot. So it was all about trying to find what writing was going to look like for me moving forward. And I think that after doing it, like I even wrote myself, you can't see it, but I wrote like a little letter that I kept on my board of open when House of Hearts is finished as like a motivator of to actually finish it. Um and it definitely taught me. I feel much better going into like my third book and so on, like because I if I could do that, I can I know I can climb that mountain again, basically. But yeah, it was definitely a different experience than Together We Rot. A lot more pressure, but it was
For
fun
sure.
once I got into this.
For sure, but then with the result, I mean, the common denominator ends up being like you and just
Yes.
your passion too. So as different as they were, that common denominator, like hopefully it is. I feel like whether you're a writer or in a different profession, you have to go through that process a little bit, but once you figure out that the combination or the common denominator is like you and your voice and your passion, hopefully that inspires somebody else that either has second book syndrome
You will
right
get through it.
now.
You will get through it. It's a rite of passage.
There
Suffering
you
is a
go.
rite of passage, but you will get through it. Like I've talked to so many people that have gone through the same thing, and it's all great on the other end, but it's just like this universal struggle of yeah, like it's a new experience and you got to get used to it, but you'll get through it.
And you're not alone. Like you
Mm-mm.
said, you're not alone. Where do you typically start? Do you start with a place and like the world that you want to create? Do you start with a character? Do you have magic and curses in mind? Where does it all begin?
I start on Pinterest.com. I
Yes.
I am very
Me too.
visual, so when I want an idea, like I'm putting together an atmosphere board. So I'm just putting together like, I like to think of the setting as a character itself. So is it this spooky seaside coastal town? Is it a haunted boarding school? Is it the wood, like what have you? And I need to have this sense of like what it's going to look like. Every book in my head, this might be a weird thing that I do, is a color. So Together We Rot was green. House of Hearts is red. I've got another book that's blue. Another one that might be like red or purple. Like it's just I always think of it as like the overall atmosphere of the book. Sometimes the characters come first. But typically I'm like searching for inspiration of like what inspires me, what would be a fun setting to write about. And then I take those Pinterest like pins, I print them off, and I have a literal Pinterest board in my office that I can like look over, and it's just inspiring to me. When I need a little bit of extra push, I can look to it and be like, "Oh, this is visually how it, looks in my head." And it helps. But that's kind of a me thing at least.
No, I love that. I mean, I feel like I've done something similar. It's inspiring. I think the visuals, I'm a very visual person
Yes.
too, so it puts you in that space. I mean, similarly too, I think about what I do for work typically, and we have, like brand boards for people. And whenever I'm working on a certain client, I like to have theirs up because it puts me in that space with them. It makes me think about what their goals are, what their mission is, everything like that. So we're very similar in that way. I love that you start
I
there
started
and go
Pinterest and
and
we move.
yeah. So I would say so that definitely obviously influences like the tone and probably the themes of your
Mhm.
novel. Do you also find that or are there any books or movies, music that also really inspire your writing?
Well, Alice in
I
Wonderland.
can think of one.
Alice in Wonderland definitely like and I tell people like this isn't a retelling, but I took a lot of the flavor of Alice in Wonderland. I had fun with it with the Queen of Hearts being like this local like boogeyman sort of figure for the school. The school itself being called the Cards, I mean the Heart, and Heart Academy and the secret society being called the Cards, and then having drink me bottles, just all that fun stuff. I tried to have fun with it. And then as far as like for the dark academia goes, I definitely read A Study in Drowning, very good book, love Ava, Secret History, Ninth House, all of that just to get a feel for the academia setting and how that looks in those books. Because like I said, I always think of the setting as a character, so I try to do it justice. And I did a lot of research for this book because with Together We Rot, the setting was so familiar to my own that it was easy for me to just draw inspiration, like, I don't know, look out my window, draw inspiration. With this book, it had a very specific um campus, that I, wasn't at. So I was very much researching like the architecture. I had a whole bunch of books on like Gothic architecture and collegiate Gothic architecture and stuff like that, just so I could reference from it, and really kind of immerse myself in the setting. But yeah, just Alice in Wonderland, Dark Academia, a whole bunch of architecture books, all of that combined to make this book.
That's amazing. And great recommendations, including the architecture. Um, what would you say was, I don't know, the most, or your favorite scene to write? Like without maybe spoiling anything, which might be a little bit hard, but what was the scene you enjoyed
The
the most
Haunted
writing?
Masquerade Ball. Like 100%,
Okay.
just because, I mean, it's a Haunted Masquerade Ball. Like, do I need to say more? It was just so fun because when I tell people that I love to write horror romance, um, that's what that scene is. Like, it's everything encapsulated together with the gothic ballroom as it's, storming outside, the ghostly visions, the pretty dresses, the dancing, the romance between her and Calvin. Like, it's all combined in just such a perfect way for, I think, what the subgenres that I'm trying to work with. That it was just a lot of fun. And like some scenes, it definitely feels like, you have to work harder to get. This scene just flew off. Like, I had no trouble writing it because it was just so fun. Um that Yeah, no, without a doubt, that one's my favorite. I do have another one, but it's like spoiler territory. I will say it involves a piano. Um,
I
do you know, like, okay,
think I
end
know
of
which
the
one you're
book,
talking about.
maybe like a church organ, but I'm not saying more. But yeah, definitely in non-spoiler territory, I'd say the Masquerade Ball.
th- the moment that you're talking about too, like when we get to that moment, I'm just like, oh, finally.
I had fun with that.
Yes. Um, okay, you kind of alluded to it, but then on the flip side, what was a scene that challenged you the most, either emotionally or technically or otherwise?
I definitely think beginnings are hard. Because I think chapter 1, there was so many different iterations of that because I knew what I wanted. There were base pieces like I knew needed to happen in chapter 1, but I had versions where Calvin and Violet meet on a Ferris wheel. There's not a Ferris wheel in this version. I had versions where um they had tour groups. I mean, I just trying to nail that opening. That's always the hardest part for me, and because I think there's a lot of pressure on a good opening because that's when people decide whether they want to read or not. So there's a lot more pressure in getting it right. That definitely went through way more iterations than some of the other scenes because, there's just so much writing on it that, yeah, it definitely went through a million revisions. Like I said, there was a Ferris wheel at one point. There's not anymore. But just to get it right, to set the scene.
That makes complete sense. I feel like, as someone who's not a writer, so I'm clearly an expert. Um, Anything that I have written though, that is always like the hardest part. Whether it's writing for fun, whether it's writing an article or a blog, anything like that. that those first words, the first sentences, that first scene that really sets the tone for whatever you're writing, and is it gonna hook anybody? Like I can see where that would be the piece that I think I would be very similar and that I would come back to it a lot to be like, is this right? Is this capturing what we needed to? Is this what readers are expecting? And will it keep them here? So I completely find that relatable. What are some of the deeper themes or questions that you explore in this story that you think your readers will be excited about?
We tackled a lot about grief in this book. Violet herself is grieving, but she's not processing her grief. She's kind of pushing it aside and putting it in this little box and not touching it because she's so focused on avenging her friend and investigating that she's not. I mean, even her mom said, you didn't cry at the funeral, you never talked about it, you're not actually processing this grief. So the book really shows her kind of going through all the 5 stages of grief as she's finally opening up and, processing what actually happened and then the loss she faced. And another one I try to get into is, generational trauma and how that looks as a family curse, and how, without going into spoiler territory, how Calvin looks like he has everything going for him on the outside, but he is still inheriting this curse or this trauma from the generation before him, and how do you break that um and move forward without passing it along.
So good. It's so true. There's a lot, I don't know, it is a little bit heavier in
Mhm.
terms of those themes and those aspects of what both of these characters are experiencing. But I'm fascinated by the approach. And I mean it just makes too for a sort of a fantastical and haunting story, the element of relatability for these characters that I think everybody can maybe see a little piece of them, um, in either Violet or Calvin or
Hopefully.
both, or some of the other characters too. So, um, I want to talk about your publishing journey because you talk a lot, or you mentioned with Together We Rot, like you didn't have an agent, you wrote it for you. So, I guess when did you decide, or how did that happen? How did that come about that you got an agent? Did you go through the normal querying process? What did that look like up to today?
Definitely it was a weird one. So I was in a mentorship program called Pitch Wars, which is unfortunately not a thing anymore. And I very sad, but I was lucky enough to be picked by Allison Saff and Ava Reed, who are phenomenal, and they helped me with my first book. And there was a Together We Rot, and we went through it. There was an overhaul period and then a presentation at the end, like a showcase, and that's where I got my agent because there was an opening showcase and she requested more material from it. And then from there, I connected with her and we went on sub. So it was non-traditional. I still needed a query. I needed a synopsis. I had to revise my book, but it was in more of like a mentorship program than traditional querying. So from there, I got the deal for Together We Rot, and I had some more revisions to go through. And then yeah, up until House of Hearts. So how it worked is Together We Rot was a one book deal with an option. So it wasn't House of Hearts wasn't a guarantee. So that was some other stress of, hopefully someone will want to buy this and it'll be my editor because I was having fun working with her. So it was a little bit like I said, there was after I sold, I had a burnout period because I'd been going so hard with Pitch Wars, like revising because you have a short timeline and you have to revise it. And I did like a pretty significant overhaul, like a 75% rewrite
Oh,
in like I think it was like a 2 or 3 month period. And then I wrote again, like I did a revision with my agent before we went on sub, and I did rounds of revision with my editor. And I think coming down from the high of it, I think I was definitely experiencing burnout and just that level of second book syndrome, like I said, of where do I go from here? Um and then that's where, I started working on House of Hearts as a secret. And luckily, I once it progressed to a point, I was able to show it to my editor and she liked it, so that was exciting. Um, and yeah, House of Hearts just taught me a lot about how to work under pressure. I mean, I even wrote the last act of House of Hearts. I wanted to make sure I met my deadline. And I wrote it on a 14-hour international flight with Delta Wi-Fi. I was I so plug to Delta Wi-Fi. I was flying to Japan and I needed to get this book sent in by the time I landed in order for my book not to be pushed out a year. So I was like, "Okay, bet."
Here
And
we go.
I wrote it on the plane, sent it over. She was such a trooper. Under that like tight window, she revised it, sent it back, and then I finished the revision on the flight back. So it taught me a
Oh,
lot.
no kidding. Okay, but the plug on Japan,
Love
did you
Japan.
go to Japan for fun?
Yes, I had so much fun in Japan. We went Tokyo, Kyoto, just Osaka, like we went all around. It was so much fun. I wish I was still there. The food was great. Shopping was so much fun. I don't think I've ever walked that much in my life. Uh, but yeah, no, I like the way there. I was just, and the worst
Working
part
the
is
whole
I
time.
forgot so my laptop charger wasn't working. So I also had that, so my laptop was dying, and I was like, I gotta get this down. It was a time. It was a time. But I survived off of like I don't know, Delta Wi-Fi and like Coca-Cola or whatever they had. Just a whole bunch of that.
You're like, keep them
I'm
coming.
like, keep
Just
them
keep them
coming. I'm
coming.
not sleeping. I'm not gonna be able to sleep on a plane anyway. So just keep them coming, and I gotta work. An economy in the back.
Oh, just like squished up.
There's a crying baby. There's like I'm like I don't have time. I have to get this book done.
Oh my god. That's perfect. And those are the stories that make us.
Yeah, and I
So,
survived.
you you survived. It's your story, your journey is a story of survival and believing in yourself and burnout.
And Delta
Been there,
Wi-Fi.
done that, and Delta Wi-Fi and Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
Not fun. Oh, that's so funny. I was because like in the back of my mind, I was like, what surprises does has she like had in this entire experience? And it sounds like there have been many.
Many. Yeah. And another, well, a sadder surprise. I was writing a book about grief. I did not expect to have grief in the middle of it. Not to put a downer. My cat, unfortunately, that I was very close to, who's actually dedicated in the front of the book. He had very severe lymphoma and like very aggressive cancer. And so I was working on this while knowing it was he only had a couple months of a diagnosis, like a prognosis. So grieving while writing a book about grief is a fun combo. And I filed for the reason we were behind and I had to write is I filed for a grief extension because I was like
Yeah.
but I ended up going back to it anyway because it was therapeutic. And in a way, it was like Violet, as hokey as it sounds, Violet and I were grieving at the same time and we were healing at the same time. Like I started when I was writing it, I was going through all the stages with her. I was angry, I was in denial, all of these things that she was experiencing in the beginning of the book, I was experiencing too. So a lot of that there's passages in the book that weren't there because I wasn't experiencing that pain at that time before. I was just, writing about a grieving character versus when I was grieving, I was actively putting in this is what I'm feeling right now and this is what she is too. And it was very therapeutic for me because it was a way to process that. And I really connected with Violet and then at the end, cuz I'm working linearly, I was kind of healing with her too. So it was a strange because this book had always been an escape and a retreat for me. So it was a kind of a strange parallel again to be retreating into it while grieving. And but yeah, that's why this book has meant so much to me because it's really been there for some heavy points like all around. Uh,
Yeah.
but it was really helpful. Like I needed it at that time.
Very cathartic, I'm sure.
Mhm.
I'm so sorry
Yeah, not to not
for
to put a downer, but
no.
that was a surprise. And I was like,
y-
wasn't expecting that. It helped a lot, and I did get to dedicate the book to him, which meant a lot to me. Uh, but yeah, I was able to emphasize with Violet in a way that I hadn't as much
You didn't
before.
expect.
Mhm.
Yeah, for sure, or you weren't really anticipating, I'm sure.
Mhm.
And I mean, as hard as it is, there is something to be said for like when writers you can just tell when they are really feeling whatever emotions their characters are also feeling. Um Obviously you never really, I think, set out like intending to
Intending to
like
grieve, but it happened,
yeah, at the
and yeah,
same
that's what's
time at but
surviving. That's the theme of
But the message and the emotion that comes through when you can tell that a writer, like, really feels that, I think can be so impactful for readers
Mhm.
when they are getting to know these characters, and grief is I don't know, I don't wanna say I love it when I read about it,
It's
but I just
helpful.
think that it's, like, really it's so important to capture so many different perspectives of that because it's so common for everyone to say, like, "Oh, everybody grieves differently," and it's like, well, yeah, then we also need to see a lot of examples of that and to stay true to that because there is sort of this element still of people we love to say, we're like, "Oh, but everybody grieves differently," but then I do feel like society-wise, the second someone's grieving, we're very quick to be like,
But they're not
but that's
grieving right.
interesting."
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not
And I
that's
think
not actually.
Calvin and Violet both have different they're both I don't wanna spoil anything, but they're both grieving in separate ways.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they're grieving in separate ways. They both have experienced I will say they're grieving, like, the same situations, but also very different circumstances at the same time.
Mhm.
So it really is interesting to see how they walk through
Yeah.
that. And the other I mean, the friends and the other classmates surrounding them too that are all processing an event and an experience and what that looks like. So very interesting. Well, what do you hope readers ultimately take away from this story?
I hope that it can be an escape for them. I mean, it was for me too, and I know I was going through, like I said, such a even before that, such a tough time emotionally that this book was and it's like for all the heavy stuff it tackles, I still wanted it to be fun. I wanted it to be an escape, something that you can fall into. And I know with everything going on right now in the world that's scary, something that people can retreat into, if they've got anything personal going on, if they're grieving, um, it would mean the world if this book could at least be something fun that can take them out of it for, however long they read. Because it really helped me so much during such dark times that I'm hoping that it can be an escape for someone else too.
Absolutely. I think well, I mean it was for me in the time that I was reading it and I liked that. I loved the escape into a new world. For me too, it was very Alice in Wonderland meets Wednesday meets Haunting of Hill House. Like I
My
was like,
favorites.
"Oh, I was like, "Okay," like, there were a couple and it's just so I love a story that's so visual, and this one in particular was, and so I'm like, I feel like I'm being transported to this blend of all of these other worlds and stories that I've enjoyed, so I hope it's the same thing too for readers. Um you kind of mentioned it, and I don't wanna put pressure on you, but can you share or do you want to share anything about what you're working on next?
Yeah, so I have one that I can because it's already on my Instagram page, so I'm allowed to talk about it. It's an adult thriller about so yeah, not YA anymore, but it's an adult thriller about a woman who is meeting her future in-laws in Antarctica, and she finds out on the cruise that they are planning to cannibalize her. So trying to escape. So we've been calling it. My editor's been calling it Cannibal Cruise, but it's called Good Taste. And then I have another
Love
project that
that.
I can't talk about in detail, but also adult, but more of a romantasy. So we'll see about that. But very I can talk to you a little bit about it after, but very exciting. Um Not that I haven't gone on sub or anything with that yet, but we're inching towards that. So crossing my fingers. But yeah, two very fun projects. But yeah, both adult. I'll probably like with like YA, like if another idea comes to me, dabble back in that. But it's more just like what ideas come to me at the time. And those ones just
Absolutely. Well, and I mean, too, though, like YA, like this is, I know it's YA, but like reading it as an adult, I was like, yeah, love this.
definitely crossover.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, you can definitely read this. This is for anybody that loves any of those stories that we've mentioned, or just sort of the vibe of what this upcoming season is, because this fits in perfectly with it. But I'm so excited, and we need to talk more. We need to talk more. So, on that note, where can other listeners, readers, or even aspiring authors who are want to follow along with your journey and your story, where can they connect with you?
I've got the same username on literally everything. So I'm on Instagram, Arndt Skyla, ARNDT, Skyla at Instagram, TikTok, website arntskyla.com. So basically the same username everywhere.
Perfect. I will link to it in the podcast notes for everybody to easily connect with you. House of Hearts is out September 9th. I believe this episode's coming out like
Second,
about,
actually, it was the
oh my
ninth. It
gosh.
was the ninth. And then they were like, just kidding. It's the second.
I literally looked at that this
It
morning.
was
Okay.
the ninth. Don't feel bad. It was
Oh,
the ninth, and then they said, "Just kidding." Yeah, and then I actually found that out online because I was looking for my book and I was gonna do something, and I was like, "Wait a minute, it says September 2nd," and then I double checked, and they're like, "Yeah." So
okay. Well,
it
scratch
moved
everything
up.
I just said. This episode comes out the day afterwards. Um, but everyone check out House of Hearts and connect with Skyla online. Skyla, it's been so much fun chatting with you. Thank you for making Narratives and Nightcaps one of your stops to talk about House of Hearts.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Cheers.